Welcome to Monday's Anxiety. We are breaking down the chaos of Week 15 and the fantasy football playoffs. A week full of excitement, heartbreak, and high-stakes drama. The bumps and bruises are piling up, including some major injuries that shook up your lineups and my lineups. For some, it was a week of heroes. For others, absolute devastation. Key players vanished when we needed them the most, leaving us in just complete ruins. Our championships are in ruins. Let's find some clarity. Welcome back into Monday's Anxiety, your fantasy football therapy session. I am Gator J, and joined, as always, my faithful co-host, because there is only one now that it's faithful, Josh Hudson. How we doing this morning, sir?
I'm great. I'm just on the wrong side of the screen, so I got to flip. There we go. That's better. Okay.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing good, and now you got us lined up properly, how you like it, whatever. I saw a thing this morning. I got to bring this up early. Pete Overset. Early round running backs might have brought you to the dance. Wide receivers crashed the party yesterday, and nothing describes the early round running back flop of Week 15 like Jonathan Taylor's 41-yard fumble at the goal line.
There were two of these yesterday. Like, how is it so difficult for players to hold on to the damn football when there's literally nobody around you nor touching you? I don't get it.
Listen, we can fine players for wearing the wrong colored shoes. We can fine players for not having their socks high enough. We
Teams need to fine players for not crossing the goal line with the fucking football.
Why can teams not sit there and fine these players for fumbling the ball at the goal line, especially a veteran like Jonathan Taylor? Are you kidding me? How about act like you've been there before? I know it's been a long time, but you have been there before.
So bad.
Ay. What a week 15 if you had some of these players. Oh man. Josh, before we get going too much into it, let's talk about Trophy Smack and the great partnership we have with them.
Yes, sir. Our sister site, Women of Fantasy Football and Trophy Smack, got together to form their Ladies League line. Head over to trophysmack.com/WOF. That's WOFF. Get all of your achievement-based needs. It's championship season. It's right around the corner. Prepare to win. And that includes championship belts, championship rings, trophies, wall smack to decorate your offices, your kids' rooms, your hallways, whatever it may be. It's all customizable. You can cater it specifically to your league or an event. You could even do championship belts to celebrate the top salespeople in your office. There's all kinds of things that you can do with Trophy Smack. So head over to trophysmack.com/WOF. That's WOFF. Using that unique link helps us continue to support women in sports. Everything that we do, sending women to the Super Bowl, the NFL draft, the scouting combine, we want to be able to provide them more than just passes. So using that direct link, any of those commissions goes towards helping women in these events. So once again, trophysmack.com/WOF. That's WOFF.
Yeah, and I think through Club Fantasy and the Women of Fantasy right now, I think we've got a few scheduled to go to a couple different places already. So thanks to everybody that is using that link. Continue to do so. Really appreciate it. And of course, you get some great swag that you can rub in your league mate's face. Before we get too much further into it, Josh, let's go over the recap of yesterday, week 15. Give us the scores if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Let's go all the way back to Thursday and that dreadful game. Rams outlast the 49ers 12-6. It was a game of field goals, but most notably, De'Vondre Campbell saying, "You want me to play? Deuces," and just said, "Peace out." Heading up Sunday, Dolphins lose to the Texans 20-12. Eagles, they proved it. They know how to throw the football. Stop doubting Jalen Hurts, 27-13 over the Steelers. The Chiefs hang on against the Browns in a really ugly game that we'll see if Patrick Mahomes plays in Week 16. Chiefs win 21-7. Bengals beat the Titans 37-27. Commanders hang on against the Saints 20-19. A failed 2-point conversion from the Saints, which, you know what? Bravo to them. I would have done the exact same thing in all honesty. So Ravens curb stomp the Giants 35-14. More on Lamar Jackson later, but Superman with 5 TDs. Fun little stat there. He has, I believe, 5 career games of 5 touchdown passes and fewer than 5 incompletions. No other quarterback in NFL history has more than 3.
Is that Lamar?
Lamar Jackson, yes.
You know, I saw a stat this morning. In the last decade, there have been 12 games where a quarterback has thrown 5 touchdowns and less than 5 incompletions. Lamar has 4 of the 12.
Yeah, there you go. That'll do it. Cowboys beat the Panthers 30-14. Jets, well, they hang on. Late Breece Hall touchdown there. 32-25 over the Jaguars. Broncos handle business against the Colts 31-13. And the Bills win a shootout. They're on the positive end of it this week. 48-42 over the Lions, who just continue to lose players to injury right now. 2 more ended up on season-ending IR. Cardinals, 30-17 over the Patriots. The Buccaneers, they wiped the floor with the Chargers, 40-17. And the Packers beat the Seahawks 30-13. Geno Smith left early in this game with, I believe it was a foot injury, ankle injury. And then we've got 2 games on Monday night, which we will talk about later in the show.
Yeah, Geno left with a knee
injury. Okay.
But
I remember seeing the hit, so to speak, like it was kind of a low hit, but he had left the ground, so that's why it wasn't considered a flag.
Yeah, the report I saw this morning was he had no structural damage, so it's all intact, but he's still considered week to week. Thanks to Breece Hall for ruining a quick little fun segment I had just for everybody today. NFL teams who have not scored at least 30 points or more this season. The Jets were on that list until yesterday. Thank you, Breece Hall, for screwing that up. But listen to this list. You can probably guess 3 of the 4. Patriots, Raiders, Giants. Can you guess who the 4th one is?
That haven't scored 30 points?
Have not scored 30 points.
Yeah, it's Kansas City Chiefs.
You're right. I didn't think you would get that. But yeah, that's a horrible list for the two-time defending Super Bowl champions to be included in there. Josh, make sure if you are out there on no matter whatever platform you are on, whether that's YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. And if you have some grievances that you need to get out, put it in the chat.
There's already plenty in the chat.
Okay, cool. If you have some start-sit questions that you need to win your matchup to get to week 16, make sure you add those in as well. And if you want to get to that front of the line, please go right ahead. Hit that super chat for us, and we will get to those as fast as we can. Let's get over to this chat that everybody is talking in there. Never, ever drafting DK again. Steve-O.
I'm going to preface this. Okay. I was very down on DK Metcalf this week. For much of the season, been a little disappointing, yes. But there was a very specific play yesterday that when I saw how Green Bay was covering him, this is how teams have shut down DK this year. When he's going down the field, the corner goes with him and the safety comes right on over. And basically, Geno is saying, I'm going to take what the defense gives me. Yes, it sucks for fantasy, but that's what, he is good. He's a damn good player. Defenses are just adjusting, and Geno's not taking shots because Geno's not that good of a quarterback, plain and simple. Yes, he's been a little disappointing, but again, you weren't drafting him to be a wide receiver 1. You were drafting him to be a wide receiver 2, and that's pretty much what he's been all year.
I think the part that hurts my feelings is if you watch that game from the very beginning, that first drive, of course, Green Bay gets the ball and drives right down the field. But when Seattle got the ball, DK was getting the ball right away. It was, I think he had 3 catches in that first drive and then didn't see the ball the rest of the game. I get that, the defense changed up, whatever, but he didn't even get an opportunity. So that kind of hurts my feelings. Good morning, Caesar. Good morning. Good morning. Steve-O says also he's not drafting Waddle and he's not drafting Breece Hall.
So look, we've been off the Waddle train all year. I will say I came back around this week. I blame the sneaky girls, but it's okay. He left with an injury this week. But all told, this is the Texans defense that I thought we would see all year, right? And we haven't seen it until this week. Probably should have put 2 and 2 together because Miami can't beat good teams or teams over 500, mind you. So why I was so high on the Dolphins offense and Tyreek Hill this week, I don't freaking know. But you know what? It is what it is. So.
It is. And Breece Hall, the only reason he was
that's the Jets. That's the big problem there. It's just the Jets. They're a dysfunctional team. Breece Hall, obviously a very talented guy. I honestly think that Breece Hall is going to get traded this offseason. I really do. And it's not because he's not good or because the Jets don't have a plan for him. Obviously, when a new coaching staff, new GM comes into play, they're going to want to build the team how they want to build it. But when you're a bad team, you don't build through a running back. Just ask the New York Football Giants. That's not how it goes, right? If they're smart, they'll trade him, get some draft picks. Garrett Wilson is the guy you hang on to. You hang on to the young stud wide receiver. Breece Hall, you break up. Invest in Sauce Gardner, invest in Garrett Wilson. Those are the 2 guys that you need to build around with this team. And more importantly, get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Caesar says he went up against Saquon, Henry, Monty, Cup, and he's feeling blessed. We will dive into those here in a little bit, Caesar. Baker over Love was a great call. I believe that was you, Josh, that made that call this week.
Was it? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll take the few wins when I can get them.
That's right. Yeah. Walking the dog, but he'll have some grievances shortly from George there.
We're here for you, George.
Yeah, we will be here all morning. Well, not all morning, but the rest of the morning, till about noon. Steve,
I do have a meeting at 12:30, so
yeah, we'll be done by noon. Had to pivot off McCormick because DK's ceiling is higher, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's rough.
That is. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Austin. R.I.P. Tyreek Hill over BTJ. Jameis.
See those L's that I was talking about? There's one of them.
Rashad White with the late touchdown. Needed that for my parlay. Garindo and JSN.
So I'll lead with this. Brian Thomas Jr. has probably been the best rookie wide receiver this year that nobody is talking about. Everybody's all on board Lad McConkey. Everybody's talked, obviously, the first month of the season, it was all Malik Neighbors. Outside of the couple weeks dealing with the chest injury, Brian Thomas Jr. has been good week in and week out, and it has not mattered who the quarterback is at all. I didn't see a 2-touchdown game coming, especially with Mac Jones at quarterback. So shout out to everybody else that started him because I certainly didn't. And Austin, I greatly apologize for the bad advice because I was all on board Tyreek Hill this week. Not as high on everybody else. JMO gets the cheap touchdown. Obviously, White does. Garindo, so-so game. But yeah, that's a herder. That sucks, man. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah. Jonathan says went up against AJ Brown, St. Brown, and James Conner, and somehow he only needs 4 points from Sam Darnold.
That is impressive.
Yeah, if you went up against those studs, what was your studs? Because
right?
I'm guessing Mike Evans. Mike Evans was on there. Chase Brown, maybe. That's interesting. That's got to be like the number 1 versus number 2 matchup of the week for that league. So props to you, Jonathan, for that one. Quincy, opponent is up by 10. He's got Darnold and Hawk. Who would you play, Mooney or McCormick? Cup and Jennings killed his team.
Mooney's going to have more upside than McCormick. I mean, wide receivers always have more big play potential. It's up by 10. Darnold, Hawk. Yeah, I would be chasing points with Mooney. I mean, I just you could see a 25, 30-point boom week for Mooney. It's hard to get those types of games from running backs, especially one that's only in his fourth start.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's a PPR league, right? You want to go ahead and get every little point you can. I don't think McCormick's going to be overly used in the passing game, so give me Mooney with the upside there, Quincy. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. You can be a damn good player on someone else's team. I'm guessing those are the three.
DK.
I
love it.
The freak says he traded away Jefferson and Nico for a 25 early first. Traded away.
I probably would have still tried to get a little bit more for Jefferson. Also kind of depends on the league too. Like, is it PPR? Is it super flex, non-super flex?
Okay. I was reading that completely wrong. I read it as Jefferson and Nico for a first.
Oh, no.
I was like, what?
I mean, really, to me, it boils down to how do you view Nico Collins, right? Like, some people kind of view him as that like top 5 wide receiver. Some have him more as like a top 10, top 12. I probably would have tried to get another draft pick, but I think anytime that you're trading one of the big wide receivers, like a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, when you can tier down to another high quality young wide receiver asset, and that's what Nico Collins has become, and now you're getting an early 2025 first for that, those are the types of tier down moves that I'm okay making.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Collins right now is wide receiver 20 on the season after missing 5 games. So
what's he at points per games wise?
Let's see. Let's go back to that.
Because I think he's top 6 in points per game.
He's averaging, where the hell is it? I can't even see it on here. It's too small to see that far. But yeah, I don't hate it. I like Josh said, I would have tried to add.
He's wide receiver 3 in points per game.
Okay, so I would have tried
actually
to
ahead of Justin Jefferson in points per game.
Probably could have added a late second, mid third.
I was gonna say maybe like a second.
Yeah,
probably a second and a third you could have gotten maybe.
Yep,
but again, I like, it's easy to say that, but every league is built differently. Like I'm in some leagues where like I couldn't trade CeeDee Lamb for multiple first round picks. Like, it's just how people in the league operate and how their viewpoints are. Not everybody plays Dynasty the way that Dynasty diehards do, right? Like, No,
I agree. James says opponent had Kupp, Henry, and Waddle. I have a chance with Swift, McLeod at flex. Swift or McLeod at flex.
I'm gonna go Ray McLeod. I
Really?
said this on Saturday too, and I got laughed at. But the Falcons run a lot of 11 personnel. McLeod is on the field. DeAndre Swift is questionable. Vikings have a good defense. I'm not a Swift fan, really. And McLeod's seeing a lot of usage. And for a lot of weeks, McLeod has been outproducing Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, just a few weeks ago, DeAndre Swift and the Bears played Minnesota. He got 13 touches, 30 yards. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's McLeod there because again, you're looking for the upside there. He got 11 targets last week, so hopefully Kirk Cousins doesn't throw 12 picks tonight. That's what you're hoping for there. Steve says, I'm just not drafting players that are questionable or headaches at all, headaches all week. Breece Hall, Waddle.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I get it.
Yeah. I still like Breece Hall. This week was just not a coming off the knee and all that mess. It is what it is. Shout out to you. Okay, I
was reading this comment. I'm just laughing so hard.
Shout out to you, man. It's Bo Nix over Goff. He went Goff. Devon went Goff, and he cooked.
So I want to preface this because I feel like if Ryan was here, he'd be like, Devin, fuck you. But you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because this is fantasy football advice in a nutshell, right? Ask questions, get opinions. If you feel strongly a certain way, don't fucking listen to us. What the fuck do we know, right? There was a lot of Well, it's the highest over-under on the slate. Could very easily end up being an all-defense type game. And you know what? It wasn't. Plain and simple. Vegas was right. It was the highest over-under for a reason. 48-42. 90 points scored between these two teams. I would not have pegged Jared Goff for 5 touchdowns. But you know what? Hats off. Good on Goff.
But you did peg it, because I do remember on Saturday you saying Bo Nix could easily have 3 touchdowns and 300 yards.
Yeah.
He could very
but I said 300 yards, no passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Correct.
That's what I said.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's the point. He just combined everything and just didn't get the yardage. He also added 3 interceptions, and that's
the 130 passing yards with Nix was definitely a letdown. But yeah, I mean, look, Goff did his damn thing. So you know what, Devin, hats off for telling us that we're fucking stupid and going with your gut. It worked out for you. No, seriously, I mean that sincerely.
All right, let's get one more for George here. He says, let's get it started. I knew as soon as both Dolphins tackles were ruled out, A-Chain was going to cook. Didn't have more than 10 yards the entire second half.
Did okay receiving, I believe, in that game.
Say that again?
I think he did okay from a receiving perspective.
A-Chan?
7 for 35. I mean, 10.5 fantasy points there. 41 rushing. He had an okay day. It wasn't anything great. But
he said second, Bobby Slowick and the Texans O-line all need to be relieved of their duties. I can't believe how horrible Mixon was. Nico salvaged the day with 2 touchdowns, but overall Stroud was bad. Yeah, Stroud.
I mean, even Nico, though, 4 catches, 17 yards. Like, we're lucky he got those 2 touchdowns, because this whole game on offense was just terrible for both sides.
This Nico game was very reminiscent of the Reed game a few weeks ago. 2 touchdowns, 15 yards, or whatever it was. But to go back to the point on CJ Stroud, we've been talking about this for weeks. We saw this happening with CJ Stroud. At least I say we, because I'm included in the show here. But you and Ryan have been talking about CJ Stroud not being what we saw CJ Stroud be.
He's a game manager.
So,
that's all he is. He's a game manager right now. This team wants to play good defense and run the football. And last Sunday, they couldn't run the football. They could play good defense, but they couldn't run the football.
All right, Josh, let's get onto some of the actual show here for a second. At least get through.
We see everybody else's questions.
We do see your comments in there. We have Josh has got you starred up, so we will get right back to you here in just a second. But let's talk about the birthday shots. Rookies with big games. Welcoming him back again to week 15. Jaden Daniels, 25 of 31, 226, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 66 yards. Beautiful, beautiful day. Welcome back from injury, Mr. Jalen Coker, 4 of 6, 110, and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors, finally back on the show sheet again, in a good way. 10 of 14, 82 yards, and a touchdown.
Who knew it was Tim fucking Boyle that was needed to unlock Malik Neighbors?
Do you see how I did that there, Josh? You added that in there, and I waited. I didn't want to get yelled at again for taking your stat line.
Thank you.
Oh, Bucky Irvin, 15 carries, 117 yards, 2 of 2 in receiving. No yardage there. 148 yards from 1,000 for the season. You know the last time the Bucs had a 1,000-yard rusher?
I think it was War done, or was
no?
it Cadillac?
No, we've had one since then. It was Cadillac.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been
I figured it was Cadillac, but
it's been a few weeks. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's been a few weeks. Back injury does not seem to have bothered him. I was fading him yesterday. I have learned my lesson. I will not fade him again.
And the time you do is when he throws up a dud.
You know what? I nope. He burned me in a good way yesterday. So I won't fade him again. I apologize, Bucky. Please, forgive me for this, and we will move on. Jalen McMillan, 5 of 6, 75 yards and a touchdown. Welcome to the NFL. One of my rising
3 touchdowns in 2 weeks, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Lad McConkey, 5 of 7, 58 yards and a touchdown. Every bit of that was in the first half. ridiculous.
Yeah, they looked awful in the second half.
They did. I know Herbert ankle was bothering him, but just he couldn't get the ball to Ladd at all. I needed one more reception from Ladd there, but whatever, it is what it is. Xavier Worthy, 3 carries, 30 yards, and a touchdown, 6 of 11 receiving, 46 yards. Career high in targets, receiving, and total yards of 76 for Xavier Worthy yesterday.
Well, and that's what you want more than anything, right? 15 fucking weeks you got to wait for your first round pick to show up and start doing shit.
Yeah, not good as they say. All right, let's get back over here. We'll hit a couple of these questions real quick, and then we'll move on. But Quincy's got I have 107.14, and he has 75.1. He has Jefferson and Odunze. I have Hawk. Do I get it? 78% chance. I have a 78% chance to win. He's got a 22% chance. I'm assuming that's what the sleeper numbers are. So I don't, it is what it is. So he's got Jefferson and Odunze. The other guy's got Jefferson and Odunze, and Quincy's got Hawk. Does he get the?
So you got a 30-point cushion. So let's say you get an average game out of Hawkinson, and that's 10 points, right? Mm-hmm. So that'll put you at 40 points ahead, pretty much 42. Jefferson, I mean, shit, the way that he played yesterday, he could have, or last week, could very easily have 30. I think, I mean, the odds are definitely in your favor, unless we get another 5-catch, 2-touchdown game from Odunze, which, I mean, shit could happen. But, the percentages are in your favor for a reason, Quincy.
I think you're going to win this one. I think it's going to be close, but I think you win.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be close. Jefferson will make it close. Yeah,
Jefferson's averaging about 20. So if you can get 10 from Hawk, they've got to get Odunze to get another 20, and that's going to be, it is what it is. I think you have a chance here. We'll go with it. Third for George. Worst game of Bo Nix's career in an easy-ish matchup.
I feel like he had worse games early in the season. That's why we were nicknaming him Bo Picks.
Yeah, 3 picks. Yep. It is. Listen, you. This is the roller coaster that is fantasy football, right?
Well, it's also the roller coaster that is rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, Sean Payton. Denver. Bryce Young was hard to watch. It was. Season.
That was the Ryan Weiss curse of the week. Yeah, that's what happens when he puts him as the stream of the week.
I know Ryan's probably watching or he'll watch it back, whatever. So I just want to preface, Ryan, I am not calling you out today. I'm going to let Josh.
Oh, I will happily call him out.
Yeah. So
we'll talk more about it tomorrow anyway. So
yeah, I kind of feel like Ryan is sick again. For reasons I said earlier, I'll let Josh badmouth Ryan. Fourth
for years.
That's right. Fourth. All this goes to show it's all luck. I had a loaded roster and even had Amon-Ra and Chase Brown pop. But of course, I go against Evans and Josh Allen, and they still have Jefferson.
I have one dynasty lineup where it's deep enough to where I end up having to mix and match a lot with matchups and stuff. And I started off Thursday with less than 4 fantasy points from Brock Purdy, and I'm like, well, I'm screwed either way. I had James Cook on my bench. I had Bucky Irving on my bench. And honestly, it didn't even freaking matter because the guy that I went against had both Josh Allen and Jared Goff, 40 points apiece. And I'm like, well, I never stood a chance anyway. So it didn't fucking matter.
I think George, as he's walking the dog earlier, is just writing notes.
Manifesto. I love it, baby.
I love it. A few lessons I'm taking in the next season: draft an elite quarterback early, draft at least 1 elite running back, pick up streaming defenses a week early, hold the bench running backs, and don't draft guys on bad teams.
Well, look, Davantae Adams is on a bad team, and look how well he did. I mean, you're always going to have players on bad teams that will shine. It's just the consistency is going to lack.
Lastly, in my other money league, it's a full PPR, and I'm up 17 despite starting Tua, Jennings, and Kupp. I need Drake London to get at least 17. Can he pull off the win? Look,
I think London should very easily get 17. I mean, this is PPR. That's what, 7 catches for 100 yards. That's not even a touchdown. Like that's a very easily Drake London stat line.
Yeah. Remember 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, 9-16. This is the thing though, and I'll bring this up later, but Drake London is getting the volume. And
touchdowns really haven't been there, but that's a Kirk Cousins problem.
Yeah, the touchdowns haven't been there, but I mean, you're looking 3 of the last 4 games, double-digit targets. He's averaging right at 16-ish, maybe 15-ish points in those 4 games, and that's without touchdowns. So he gets 1. You'll be good to go. I love George here. All right, I love Caesar right here. Let it out, George. Let it out. That's what we are here for.
This is what this show is all about. Yep.
That's right. Bonus. 2nd year in a row, I've traded Davantae before the playoffs, and he goes off. So we had Davantae on this team, and he wouldn't even need to worry about the 17 points. Ay.
That hurts, man.
The funny part is, Josh, is we were talking about this right before the show, this Jets offense, and how Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams have it's a microcosm, basically, of halves. Garrett Wilson was the wide receiver for the first half. Nobody even knew Davante Adams was on the team in the first half.
Yeah, right.
He just absolutely goes off in the second half. So it was all second half for Davante Adams. Millie Mills.
What's up, homie?
I know we'll be talking a little bit here tonight, or this afternoon with Millie, with his team playing tonight. So, all right, Josh, let's get over to the unnecessary shots of rumblements. Key injuries from the week: Nick Chubb, broken foot; Patrick Mahomes, ankle is week to week; Trey Benson, didn't even know about this one, has an ankle injury. Jalen McLaughlin got a quad. Alec Pierce, concussion. Jalen Waddle is a knee. Week to week for him, I guess. Alvin Kamara, groin, considered day to day. Tommy DeVito, concussion is probably the best thing that's happened to Malik Neighbors. Jalen Hurts, broken finger on his non-throwing ham. We saw the pictures pregame. I guess it really affected him.
Yeah, he did just fine. But I needed to point that out because he's not healthy and still kicking people's asses. Stop doubting my quarterback, damn it.
I mean, it's when he does starts fights between himself and what should be the wide receiver one. Zach Ertz, concussion, which really sucks for this guy. Was having a phenomenal season. And then Geno Smith, we talked about earlier, with a knee injury, considered week to week at this point. Josh, before we go to the chat questions, I do want to get to this next one real quick because I think it's very important. We vent our frustrations for a second, and let's pour one out. RIP to our seasons, because these players absolutely shit the bed.
Yeah, it was a rough one. Cooper Kupp, 0. And just like going all the way back to Thursday, Kupp was 0. Debo, 4.9, which you shouldn't have been starting anyway. Juwan Jennings, 5.1. Brock Purdy, 4 fantasy points. Then you get yesterday, Jameis Winston, who we all talked about like all week being freaking awesome. Negative 0.4 fantasy points.
Ouch.
Tua, 3.8. Absolute dud. Najee, we knew he'd have a bad game at 3.1. Oof. Tyrone Tracy. I talked up Tyrone Tracy quite a bit. 4.5 fantasy points. But then you get into the studs, the guys that literally carried you here. And hopefully you had a first round bye if you had these guys. But Derrick Henry, 6.7 fantasy points. Saquon Barkley, 9.4. Travis Kelce, Ryan said he would be the tight end 1 this week, going back to Cleveland. 6.7. Tucker Kraft, 5.4. DK Metcalf, 5.8. Marvin Harrison Jr., who you listened to me and Joe told you was going to have a shitty day, 5.2 fantasy points. Awful, 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 awful.
Let's start with real quickly Marvin Harrison Jr., the savior that is not Marvin Harrison Jr. Is it a Marvin Harrison Jr. problem? Is it a Kyler Murray problem? Is it a Gannon problem? What's the issue there? Because this guy was
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think Drew Petzing, the offensive play caller, is definitely a problem when it comes to this because, there's zero creativity, no motions. You're not creating mismatches with Marvin Harrison Jr. You're basically saying, go line up on the right, go line up on the left, run your route. That's it. Like the routes are very much NFL routes. Like he's running a full route tree, which given the fact that he's a rookie and is doing them well enough is solid. But the problem is that when you're not putting people into motion, you're not creating mismatches and potentially taking your best weapon off of number one corners to scheme him the football and get him open, you're doing the player and your offense a disservice. I think part of it too is timing between Kyler and Marvin Harrison. Kyler's now a Call of Duty spokesperson. That's not going to bode well for building chemistry with your wide receiver one. I'm sorry. So I think there's a lot of different factors that are coming into play, but also I'm not taking too much stock into it going forward because it's still only year one.
I get that it's only year one, but the dynasty brain says ouch more than anything. But it is what it is. The rest of this list, oh my God, these are the guys that we've been like talking about all year long. Got us to the playoffs, and then just like you said, hopefully you had these dudes. You got a first round bye, and you're sitting there going, missed out. I missed a bullet there.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a few of these guys that, we're likely on non-bye week teams. But, yeah, the Derrick Henry and Saquon duds were probably the hardest to swallow, truthfully.
So I pulled this from our good buddy Garrett Price over there at Dynasty Nerds. The following lineup would have made the playoffs in most every league out there and average around 155 points per week, excluding the bye weeks and injuries, of course. In weeks 15, this team had 48.6 points. This team consists of Brock Purdy, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Jawan Jennings, Travis Kelce, Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, and at Superflex, Tua Tagovailoa. That team, 150 points on average, throws up a 50 burger as Josh Allen is throwing 50 burgers like they are, nothing. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Let's get back over to the chat real quick. George saying, thank you for reading his manifesto. George, you can write a manifesto anytime on Monday mornings. We will absolutely get to each and every piece of it. And then Millie Mills giving me hell already. Cadillac got parked. Thank you, Millie, for joining the show. How about that? Jeff Rogers, do y'all believe in miracles? I need 30 points tonight from Hawk to stay alive in the playoffs.
Ooh. That might be a tall order, man. That might be a tall order, but you know what? I am rooting for you, man.
So to answer the question, do you believe in miracles? Yes. Straight up, I'm not seeing Hawk get 30 tonight, though.
Yeah. That's going to be tough.
That's
you know what? I've seen this happen with TJ Hawkinson before. He's put up some very big weeks.
It's not out of the realm. Yeah, but it's just barely. Caesar says he dropped Davantae Adams in his work league, and now he can face him in the finals.
Yeah, y'all are paying too much attention to the helmet sticker and less about the player. That's all I got to say.
The ghost that is Hoove. Oogla boogla.
What's up, Hoove?
Austin, I would tend to agree fantasy football comes down to 80% luck, 20% skill.
I don't know if it's 80% luck, but there's definitely a lot of luck that goes into it. I mean, you can do all the research you want. You can, predict as much as you can predict based on the stats and information and even your eye test that's available. Crazy shit happens, man. There's a reason that the football is an oblong shape and not fully round. It bounces different ways when you least expect it. So
comes right back and he says, yeah, tell that to the people who drafted Tyreek.
Tell that to the people that I told that Tyreek Hill was going to be 20 plus on Houston.
Josh, are you from Philly? Austin wants to know.
Not actually from Philly. I did live in South Jersey as a kid, which if you know anything about Jersey, it's kind of divided into 3 sections. You've got North, Central, South. South is very like DC, Philly. Central and North are more like New York-esque. So,
random question from George. Where do you guys see Puka and Kupp going in drafts next year?
Puka is probably going to be a first-round pick. But I think part of that, too, is going to depend on how much people buy into this running back renaissance from this year. I still think you're going to have a lot of people that, will favor course correction, swaying back to the wide receiver position and seeing the volume that some of these big name running backs got this year. We'll kind of anticipate sort of a downtick in production. Kupp, I don't think he's going to be as highly drafted. I would probably put him more. If I had to put a guess on it right now, probably somewhere between 13 and 20. I think you're going to look at him more as a legit wide receiver 2 with legitimate week, wide receiver 1 spike weeks, which, by season's end, all things considered, if he stays healthy, which again is a tall order, not only for Kupp, but for any 32-year-old wide receiver, he could finish as, the wide receiver 9 or something like that. But I think Puka is definitely in that wide receiver 1, top 7 conversation.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this last week when I asked you about where you have Puka as far as, going forward. And I think we have him, you have him somewhere in that 5 or 6 range when it comes to wide receivers. So, George, if you want to go see that explanation, that is on last week's episode of Hangxiety as well. Millie Mills, I had Henry and Kupp in my lineup, but ARSB and Evans carried me until got little from Kamara.
There you go. I mean, look, Kamara got the late touchdown. He did leave, obviously, with a groin injury, but, yes, it was a trick play that got him the touchdown. Cedric Wilson, wide receiver, throws it to him, but the running game wasn't working. But that's the thing with Kamara. You don't need the running game. You need the passing game. It's the same thing with Davantae. Kamara just hadn't scored much in terms of touchdowns lately, so it was good to get that touchdown in and really help save his day anyway.
Quincy says he would never start Monty over Gibbs again on anything.
Yeah, I mean, I love Montgomery. I love Gibbs as well. Gibbs is just so much more dynamic. His contact balance, the way that he's used, the motor that he has, he's just faster. And I think anytime you add a speed element, it's going to take you to new levels. Ryan wrote a piece last year or in the offseason about how he felt that Gibbs had RB2 overall upside. And really the piece was initially supposed to be why he had wide receiver 1 overall upside. But when his final numbers came in, it still didn't compare to anything that Christian McCaffrey did last year. So he's like, well, we're going to call it the RB2 upside. But yeah, I mean, both these guys are going to top 1,000 yards if they haven't already. Both are scoring a ton of touchdowns. That alone is the upside that comes with the Detroit Lions offense.
Yeah, I just want to look right now. Gibbs is at just rushing 1,047, and Montgomery is at 775. So that's just rushing. That doesn't include their passing yardage at all.
All right, so Monty has 3 games to get 100 or 225 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty feasible in this offense. Yeah.
Let's see. Just a quick as we're bringing it up here. They've got Chicago and San Francisco, and then Minnesota as their final 3.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
but knowing Dan Campbell, they'll make it a point of effort to get him that 1,000 yards.
Craig wants to know, what do you think of the battle of Mayfield and Herbert yesterday?
I think it was all Mayfield.
I don't think there was much of a battle when it came.
No, it really wasn't. But again, I mean, Herbert coming in hobbled with the ankle as well. Bucs defenses look a lot better, getting healthy, and they're getting after the quarterback. They got a lot of young talent there on that defensive line.
Yep. George says, would you take Puka over Amon-Ra next year? And again, George, I'll send you back to last week's episode. I believe Josh is taking Jefferson, Chase, Amon-Ra, and I believe there was Davante Adams, maybe.
Oh, I would never put Davante Adams in that conversation.
Who was the 4?
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Jefferson, Chase, Lamb would be my top 3. Amon-Ra is probably up there, but I feel a little less comfortable about that. I'm still an A.J. Brown homer. I mean, he leads the league in yards per target. Yards per route run, he's very much up there. Man coverage, yards per route run, he's very much up there. He's an elite option, just the passing volume. But it's always about trying to find the guys that, you think can see 160 plus targets, right? Like those are the guys that typically are going to dominate when it comes to fantasy football. And I think you've got to put Puka in that conversation. I think you'll probably get more consistency out of Puka, but I think overall Amon-Ra probably ends up with a better season. I mean, we saw it this week. Look how they needed to come from behind. Who's the go-to? It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? So I don't think that you can discount that simple fact, even when they're going to run the ball so much and they're going to rack up yards and touchdowns and scoring on the ground. And then Amon-Ra has 5 targets, 3 catches, 26 yards and a touchdown, right? Like it sucks, but I think the other side of this argument, if Ben Johnson does get a head coaching opportunity, what does this offense look like next year? I think that to me is the big variable that when answering this question, we do not know.
George, you should be doing this every week anyway, or every year anyway. But he feels like next year he wants to draft players that on teams that he enjoys watching. Unless you have red zone, it can be brutal to watch the Jags, the Titans, and the Jets.
I tell this to everybody all the time, especially to new fantasy managers. When it comes to fantasy, what makes it fun for you is drafting players that you enjoy watching. Because they're on your team, you want to see them do well. And when they do well, you get excited because they're on your team and they're helping you win. So, and I think with a lot of our fantasy diehards, degenerates that we get so obsessed with numbers and projections and trying to be right that we forget that, draft so-and-so because we love watching them. Like, I don't love advocating for taking a quarterback early. I have zero issue drafting Jalen Hurts. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. If I spend a 3rd round pick on him to make sure that I get him, so be it. And you know what? The one league where I've got him as my quarterback in a redraft league, I put up 180 points this week. So that's how you do it,
Yeah, fantasy football is supposed to be fun, and if that's what makes it fun for you, then go do that. You don't have to do anything other than have fun and enjoy it yourself. A couple more real quick. I start Kupp, Jennings, Debo, Kyron, Tua. What a bad week. Quincy.
Yeah, that is a terrible week.
Pour one out for your team there. And get Trone in here. Trone Forrest is on a bye. So congratulations on getting that first round bye, first of all. But had Kupp give me a 0. Barkley gave him 9. Monty gave him 7. And his team still put up 130 points.
This is why that bye week is so important. So important because you're taking one less percentage out of your probability of winning the whole thing, right? Like when you get into the playoffs, it's basically a 33% shot, right? Because you've got to play 3 games. You take away that bye week, now you're slicing off one leg of that. So it's, now a 50% chance of making it to the finals, a 50% chance to win it at that point, right? You cover your ass from these bad weeks when they don't matter. That's why getting that bye is so incredibly important.
Yep. Agreed. Let's move over to Shots of Espresso. Let's actually talk about the shit that's on our thumbnail here, Josh. Shots of Espresso, quality performances that got the juices flowing. 50 minutes into the show, and we're finally getting into this.
Well, technically, I teased them a little bit in the beginning, so hopefully it still works on the SEO. But got to give it up to Lamar Jackson. He's the QB3 on the week, 36.1 fantasy points. 21 of 25, 290 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 6 rush attempts, 65 yards on the ground. He had the early fumble, and it was just like, oh, fuck, are the Giants actually going to make this game competitive? Yeah, it really didn't matter. I should have known the moment that Ryan picked Derrick Henry as his 2-touchdown special that it was going to be a huge Lamar Jackson week. But I also remember, Jay, you're muted, by the way. I also remember we got a lot of Zay Flowers questions on Saturday Start Sit Show. And a lot of it was, you beat the Giants by running. Dexter Lawrence is out, this and that. Giants cover wide receivers really well, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, when Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you can talk about Lamar being so great as a runner that people forget he has become an incredibly efficient passer. Like, his first MVP season, he had 36 touchdown passes, had like a 9% touchdown rate. Like, he is that good, Rashad Bateman had 2 fucking touchdown catches. Like, that brought a smile to my face. I'm like, I've been waiting forever for Rashad Bateman to finally do something. And then he gets a contract extension this offseason. And I'm like, what the fuck did this guy do to deserve that? Well, you know what? He's fitting right into this offense the way that they need him to fit in this offense. Zay Flowers is doing what he needs to do to make this offense go. Obviously, we know what Derrick Henry brings to the table, but this all works because Lamar Jackson is that fucking dude, plain and simple.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan, for screwing up one of my parlays. All I needed was Henry to get 1 touchdown, and Ryan had to go and screw that up. So appreciate that, Ryan. Asshole. Moving on. No, awesome day by Lamar. I was one also fading Flowers, but dude, I mean,
he didn't have a bad day. It was 5 for 63 or something like that. Like, pretty respectable numbers. You throw a touchdown in there, it was pretty solid. But like, even if he'd had that touchdown and like 17 points, still wasn't a good wide receiver week considering the wide receiver booms that we had this week. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I remember the first alert I got. Literally, I have 3 TVs going with the red zone on one, and then the 2 local games that I'm able to watch on regular local channels. And I look down, my phone lights up, and it's Rashad Bateman 49-yard touchdown. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, really? It was awesome to see because I had a last minute choice and I had to put either, I don't remember who the other player was now because I put in Bateman and ended up with that. And I was like, okay, well, at least I'll have some points. And then he gets another one. So I'll take that as well. Rashad Bateman, Jesus Christ. What has he got? 7 touchdowns now on the year?
Yeah, that's what Tyler says here in the chat. Yeah, he's got 7 all year.
7. Yeah.
Look, that's what happens when the quarterback has a strong running game. Even what some might deem as lesser quality wide receivers can operate in space because defenses have to pay attention to the running back.
Yeah, you got Derrick Henry with 13 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing, and they have to respect the run so much that fucking Justice fucking Hill got a 61-yard touchdown, 61 yards through the air and a touchdown yesterday in the air. Yep. Insane. Props to the Harbaugh family and the Baltimore Ravens for doing exactly what Dallas should have done and get Derrick Henry on your team and make it a Super Bowl contender. Josh, next one.
My next one's Davantae Adams. He finished as the wide receiver 1 overall in the week, 42.8 fantasy points. The best part about this stat line: 12 targets, 9 catches, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. All in the second half. He did this in 30 minutes of football time.
They traded for him at halftime.
Apparently. Like, we knew this was a good matchup. There was a reason that I put Davantae Adams on the thumbnail for Saturday's show. Because I knew we were going to get some questions about him. And there didn't need to be questions about him. He has been the top target in this Jets offense. I've been down on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers kind of sucks. I believe he finished his QB4 in the week. He's always going to have these pop weeks, sure. But, like, he is finding Davantae Adams. They have that chemistry going way, way back. This is the guy that he's looking for. And, Jay, we talked about this in the earlier in the show or in the intro or whatever it was. But, like, there was a play where Garrett Wilson's one-on-one in the red zone. And instead of throwing a fade up to Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers is throwing it out of bounds while targeting Davantae Adams, giving up on the play because he couldn't get it to his guy versus taking what the defense is giving him. Davantae Adams is that fucking dude. He's still good. And he's become savvy while he's lost some of his speed, really. He's kind of morphing into like that late career Larry Fitzgerald at this point. And that's what you want these talented wide receivers to do as they age. They need to be able to become more reliable in certain facets of the game. And Davante Adams is absolutely doing that. And it helps that, he's with his guy that trusts him and he's going to hyper target him. 9 for 198 and 2 touchdowns. That got you into the semifinals, plain and simple.
Yeah, when you're looking at these wide receivers, and this is something I try to take account of when, especially in PPR leagues, I want ones that are going to get volume. And you look at what Davante Adams over the last three straight games, and 5 of the last 6 games, at least 11 targets. That's exactly what you want. I don't care. I mean, I care because I have a lot of Garrett Wilson, but I don't care that it all came in one half or one quarter. I don't.
As long as it gets there.
As long as they're all there.
That's all that matters.
And what's sad is it is Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. So when you look at these targets, I mean, he's catching 7 of 11, 6 of 13, 5 of 12. I want to know truly and honestly what it could consist of a target, because if it's not in his catching range, then it's not a target in my opinion. It's just because it's thrown within 5 yards, I guess it's a target. But beside the point, he's getting the volume, and we got to respect that, right?
Yep. 100%.
All right, let's go with one more.
I'm gonna give it up to DeVonta Smith, wide receiver 5 on the week, 28 fantasy points. Honestly, kind of an ugly stat line when you look at like the yards per reception, but 12 targets, 11 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. We knew that this Eagles passing attack was going to work this week. I've been preaching it all week. That's why I was high on A.J. Brown. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of start-sit questions that involved DeVonta Smith. Ryan was very much against it, and I told him, I'm like, look, man, we know A.J. Brown's going to get involved. They're going to throw the football to DeVonta Smith too. Wide receiver 5. He actually outscored A.J. Brown in fantasy. A.J. Brown was wide receiver 8 on the week. Look, this is what happens in Philly. When you start doubting Jalen Hurts, you start doubting certain facets of the offense, they flip the script. They're going to show you that they can win on offense in multiple ways. That's so easy to do when A, you have the playmakers that they have, but B, when you have the offensive line that they have. They bully people. This is hands down the best offensive line in football, and it has been for half a decade now, if not a full decade. They are fucking dogs. Jalen Hurts can win in a lot of different ways. We know what he can do with his legs. The tush push worked yesterday too, right? He threw 2 touchdown passes. It doesn't always have to be sexy, but they're going to get it done, and the Eagles have won 10 straight. DeVonta Smith finally showing this year what he's capable of doing. That's why I wanted to shout him out more so than A.J. Brown this week.
Yeah. So I do a lot looking at the lines and stuff. And so last week, Jalen Hurts' line for passing attempts was like 23-24, I believe it was. This week, it was at like 36 attempts. That's what the line was to start the week. And at that point, you have to pay attention and go, okay, yes, he's going to be passing the ball. And he did, right? He split it up pretty damn evenly between DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown. I don't know how you, other than the 28 to 25 points, the 3-point differential between the two, I guess that's the only way you could figure out who to put on your list here, because either one of them would have been fine to talk about.
Absolutely.
So the one guy I want to bring up is Mike Evans. 1,000-yard streak is seriously attainable right now. 159 yards, 2 touchdown performance yesterday. He needs to average 83 yards over the next 3 games, right?
That's very doable.
It's very, very, very doable, especially in this high-passing offense. He should see minimum 10 targets in every game. I don't care if they're playing the Baltimore Ravens. I don't care if they're playing the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't care if they're playing the Buffalo fucking Bills. I don't care. He needs to be seeing 10 targets, and I'll tell you why. Week 4 against Philly, he saw 14 targets, caught 8 of them, 94 yards, and a touchdown.
I just want to point out that that's before our defense got right. But go ahead.
Doesn't matter. Week 13, Carolina saw 12 targets, caught 8 of them, 118 yards and a touchdown. Yesterday, week 15 against the Chargers, 11 targets, 9 catches, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those are the only 3 games where he saw double-digit targets this year. The only 3.
And he's balled in all of them.
He's balled in all of them. He's got Dallas this coming week and Carolina for the fantasy playoffs. You cannot sit Mike Evans like this dumbass did and got knocked out of his guillotine league. So, thank you.
Why did you sit Mike Evans? Who'd you start over him, I guess, is the better question. Because I know it's guillotine, so there's always options available.
Yeah, so I will tell you who I started over him really let's first start here. It's only a 5-man bench, right? Here's my bench in this league right now. Bucky Irvin, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Jonnu Smith. That's my bench.
God,
my bench outscored. Yes, my bench has outscored everybody. Cooper Kupp, how you doing? Thank you. I still have Bijan Robinson tonight. Trey McBride did me good. Juwan Jennings, thank you for nothing. David Montgomery, thank you again for nothing. Chuba Hubbard, whatever. Hey, Baker Mayfield in the starting lineup. Why the fuck didn't you put Mike Evans in there? Duh. That was stupid. Oh, you know why I didn't? Because I'm too busy doing other shit. And not
sure. Blame me for putting you on podcasts. I see how it is.
No, it's not your fault, Josh. It is 100% me because I check these lineups 2 or 3 times a weekend, and especially on Sunday morning, and somehow I did not check this one. It is 100% my fault. Mike Evans, I owe you an apology as well. Go off the rest of the year. 10-plus targets is what he should be getting every single week. Got Dallas and Carolina in the fantasy playoffs. I don't see how Baker and the Bucs don't just try to force feed this guy. Jalen McMillan has turned into something special on the other side. So now you can't just triple coverage Mike Evans because you can double coverage him all day long. He's proven that he can beat that. So yeah, anyway, anywho. All right, let's move on to the migraine of the week. Worse than a hangover, underwhelming performance in the prelude of what's to come. Josh, who you got?
It's Jameis for me. I think it was fun while it lasted. It was turning back into a pumpkin. Everybody wanted to call out the weather in this game like it was going to be so bad. Yeah, it was a little rainy. I didn't think the weather conditions were as bad as what everybody seemed to be making it out to be. That's why I really wasn't fading Jerry Jeudy the way that a lot of people were. And he did just fine this past week. I think he was wide receiver 13 on the week, 10 catches and 100 and something yards or whatever it was. But he was benched. Jameis was in the fourth quarter for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But for me, this is less about Jameis and more about the Browns pass catchers as a whole. We've seen snippets of DTR throughout the last 2 years. He is not a good passer of the football. Even in the 2 drives it was, I believe, that he had in this game against the Chiefs, he threw 1 interception and targeted 5 different players. He went 2 of 4 for 13 yards targeting Jerry Jeudy. That's not going to do well through the full length of a game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever. If this team ends up starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson for these last 2 games, 3 games, whatever it is, Jerry Jeudy is going to end up being a very hard fade for me. But the steam is run out on Jameis Winston. So it's fun while it lasted, people.
Yeah. Any way you can get negative energy put onto Jerry Jeudy, you're going to do it. And I appreciate it, but you still are an asshole for it. Look, we're an hour into it. We still got a couple of things we got to get to here. I just want to bring up one of my mind grades, and we kind of talked about this a little bit ago. Brock Purdy, 14 of 31, 142, and a touchdown. I'm sorry, an interception. Last 3 games, 2 interceptions. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 6 sacks, and a fumble. 26 sacks on the season already. 3 games left. 28 sacks is what he had total last year. He's got Miami and Detroit. And of course, now both of these defenses have been just shit. Detroit's just getting injury bitten. But let's get over to let's talk about some good stuff. Hopefully we got all the bad vibes out for this morning mimosa. That early morning tingly feeling. Something is on the horizon. We should be expecting more with these players within the next week or so. Josh, lead it off.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Brenton Strange. He was the tight end 2 on the week, 18.3 fantasy points, saw 12 targets, caught 11 of them for 73 yards. Like we talked about this on Saturday because we did get some start-sit questions that involve Brenton Strange, especially after the news that Evan Ingram had a shoulder issue and the Jags were putting him on IR. When Evan Ingram missed time earlier this season, Brenton Strange filled in admirably and quite honestly was outperforming Evan Ingram in those games. This team is using him. They seem to really like him. And he's been a pretty solid compliment to Brian Thomas Jr. I think there's a lot to like here, and you could be looking at a tight end, at least a low-end tight end 1 for the rest of the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Give me one more.
I'm going to go to your boy Jalen McMillan here. As I mentioned, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He was wide receiver 16 this week, 18.5 fantasy points, 6 targets, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown this week. He's basically he's finally coming into his own, and they're sort of shifting away from Cade Otton at the tight end position and just focusing on the wide receivers here. Cade Otton didn't have a really good week this week, and we talked about it a little bit. We got a lot of start-sit questions with him, like Hawkinson or Otton. I had someone else ask me Tucker Kraft or Cade Otton. Tucker Kraft didn't have a great week, but I believe he outscored Cade Otton. So, if everything is starting to shift back to Jalen McMillan, and, I know Sterling Shepard's been banged up. He's obviously older. He's not the guy that they want to get involved in this offense. They want to see what Jalen McMillan can do. We know what Mike Evans can do. But these last 3 games of the NFL season, it's about getting the young guys playing time and seeing if they're ready to contribute. They're getting a lot from Bucky Irving, which has been great. Now it's time to get Jalen McMillan involved. And the last couple of weeks, we're starting to see something here. And they've got some decent enough matchups to where Jalen McMillan can exploit and keep this hot streak going.
Josh, I just got breaking news. David Montgomery out indefinitely.
Oh,
with a knee. Not sure.
Yes, he's not hitting 1,000 yards now.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on it, but I just saw 3 reports come across that out indefinitely for David Montgomery. Josh, I put in Rico Dowdle here. I know I'm a week or 2 late, but my question is does Dallas really need to draft a running back early in the draft here? 3 straight games of 120 yards. Has Tampa Bay and Philly left in the fantasy playoffs, and then Washington in week 18, quietly on pace for 1,000-yard season. I know you're going to say, yes, they need to draft a running back. I
have reasons why.
Yeah, I just don't know if they need to spend that high draft capital like Atlanta did a couple years ago on a running back in that first round.
Well, maybe they don't need to spend a high pick. Maybe they don't need to go get Ashton Genty. This is a pretty deep running back class. So I think there's going to be some talent, some legit talent that they could find in the second round, right? Yeah. It's the same thing the year that Clyde Edwards-Helaire snuck in at the back of the first round. You had, Dobbins, Akers, JT. You had some talent there. Obviously, Akers and Dobbins kind of succumbing to injury, but JT's been, for the most part, as advertised. But this is the big difference. And I'm going to use Philly as an example here. For 3 straight years, we've produced really fucking good running backs, right? Miles Sanders, 1,200 yards. They're over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. Signs a big free agent deal with Carolina. The next year, we trade for DeAndre Swift. He has over 1,000 yards. He leaves in free agency. We go out and we pay big money to get Saquon Barkley. And he is almost doubled what those guys did behind basically the same offensive line. Great running backs make a big difference for an offense, plain and simple, especially in this day and age where it's become a passing league. Defenses are playing more of this, shell coverage that are creating more depth, pushing defenders back. You're running 11 personnel, which is forcing smaller defenders onto the field, taking off linebackers that can handle hitting running backs that are a little bit bigger. That's why great running backs matter in this day and age in the NFL.
But you made
for all that Rico Dowdle is doing, okay, if you put a great running back in this system, it's going to make the Dallas offense that much better.
Yeah, but you made my point for me, Josh. You brought up Philly. You know the difference between Philly and Dallas right now, outside of Saquon.
But
and
Dallas is always invested in offensive line. Always.
But they don't have. They have a shitty offensive line right now.
Well, Zach Martin is just on IR. You get him healthy.
Rico Dowdle's done it with a bad offensive line. So that was my point here, and that's why I say they yes.
Okay, so I'll say again, like. You put a better running back behind a shitty offensive line, what's going to happen? It's going to be that much better. But more case in point, Mike McCarthy's offense has never lent itself to great running back play. He's never prioritized a running back position.
No. Stat of the day.
Why I don't think McCarthy's going to be there anymore. So.
Stat of the day, and I feel like I've done a lot of Lions stats, but this one is kind of humorous at the same time. Lions have now won a game in which Jared Goff has thrown 5 interceptions. That was Week 10 against the Texans, and now has lost a game where he's thrown 5 touchdowns. Yesterday against the Bills. Thought that was quite interesting. Josh, let's hit a couple of these chat questions real quick. We'll rip through them. Thoughts on the Bears covering 7-point spread tonight?
I think it's a reasonable cover. I don't think they will, though.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think they
like. I would rather just bet the money line. Truthfully,
yeah, I don't think they cover.
I would just take the Vikings money line. So.
Yeah, I don't think they cover. I mean, it's a division game, but I still don't think they cover. Traded Lockett and McLaurin in week 2 to pair with Jaden Daniels. It is still paying off. Nice trade.
Yeah, McLaurin's been fantastic this year. Career.
Millie's just going to keep giving me shit, I'm sure. Say Evans, homie has been questionable all week, made him nervous. That may be why I didn't start him too. So, but 2 tutties and 150 yards. My opponent is the Panthers fan. He called me and he said he hated Mike Evans. Well, that's his bad. He should be loving Mike Evans. Bateman, every year I think Mike Evans will regress and he continues to be a monster. Got to draft him every year as long as he's putting pads on.
I mean, he's going to be 33 next year. At a certain point, those wheels are going to fall off, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. What? I mean, those are stone wheels, buddy. Those are stone wheels right now. They ain't made of rubber. Millie's migraine is Cooper Kupp.
100%.
And Jable's migraine is people dropping the ball before they score. How many times did that happen yesterday, Josh? I just want to repeat it.
Twice.
Billy Mills. Shakir is becoming what we wanted Jaden Reed to be.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ryan and I were very high on Jaden Reed. We love the potential. We love the upside. My biggest caveat was how much is he going to come off the field? Because he's not used in 12 personnel. He's a slot receiver. They take him off the field when they run these big tight end packages. That's why they have Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. But even when Musgrave was out, they were still playing that 12 personnel. So it just really boils down to they're just not using him the way that we want him to be used because we know how talented he is.
Oscar says he benched McLaurin for Hill. Also started Kupp, 33 points against. Have Hawkinson and 2
options: Vikings defense or stream a bad defense in a good matchup. Falcons versus Ritter. Oof. Well, hopefully you didn't bench McLaurin because I said that Tyreek Hill was going to have a good game. If so, I greatly apologize for that. Cooper Kupp dud. I mean, that is what it is, unfortunately. 33 points against Scott Hawkinson. So let's say hypothetically Hawk has 10 points. I would be fine pivoting to the Falcons. They do have 9 sacks in the last 2 weeks, which is a good thing, considering they are like last in the NFL in total sacks. And Desmond Ridder is god awful, and I don't buy into the revenge game narrative with him. I think the biggest thing is when it comes to defensive points, what's your scoring? Like I I play in some leagues with defenses where scoring is so incredibly wild that you can very easily get 30 points from a defense. But in most standard scoring defensive leagues, like you're hard pressed to get like 12, So I don't know that streaming the defense is going to make up a lot of the difference. So really, you need to get that difference from Hawkinson.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Vikings defense here. I get it with what the Falcons have done over the last couple of weeks, but the Vikings have done the exact same thing. So I'm just going to stick with what's got me there. Real quick, last one, and then we'll move on. Luca was offered Quinn Johnston, Charbonnet, and a second for Bryce Young. He has JJ McCarthy and Drake May. Would you accept the trade?
I was offered QJ and Charbonnet for a second and a second for Bryce Young. I mean, is this a super flex?
I'm imagining it is because he's got JJ McCarthy and Drake May and Bryce Young currently.
I mean, if that's what I'm getting for Bryce Young, I'm okay with that, even in a super flex. Like, I would prefer to have at least 3 quarterbacks in a super flex. But I mean, like QJ, for all the jokes that we say about bricks for hands, he's had a big bounce back season, right? Like they're using him, they're showing what he can do. I think another year, a third year breakout could really be in order for him, especially the way that they're using Ladd McConkey. He can be a really solid piece within that offense. Charbonnet is what Charbonnet is. Like he's a backup running back. To me, this is basically QJ in a second for Bryce Young, and I'm okay with that trade.
All right, Josh, let's get over to chill the fuck out, the good or the bad. Game that was merely a blip on the schedule. Who do you got?
It's elite running backs, specifically Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and I'll even throw Joe Mixon into that conversation because all 3 of them fucking sucked. Look, it sucks that it all happened in 1 week, but as we talked about in the pour one out section, hopefully if you had these 2, you got to buy because they've been that damn good this year. I will say, and I want to give a shout out to Olivia. She's in our work league. She did not get a first round bye and has both Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry and is going to lose this week. So that absolutely sucks. Consolation, I doubt this happens again. So not that it matters for her, but hopefully it matters for the rest of you that we're able to survive these bad performances. But this isn't don't let this be the indictment on their overall season. We knew this was going to happen with Saquon. He was probably going to take a down tick because they were going to focus on, getting the passing game involved. So.
Yeah, like you said, it sucks that it happened all at the same time. A couple questions in the chat here, and then we'll get to Monday night, and then we'll get the hell out of here. I have a 0.3 lead going into Monday night, standard scoring. They have Addison. I have Bijan and Jay Jettis. Like his odds?
I mean, you've got 2 to their 1. Absolutely, I love your odds,
yeah,
Kev.
I agree. Oscar says, yes, he followed your advice. Hill over McLaurin. But
oh, man, this is the shit on Josh's advice show, isn't it?
but was my call. Do not have to apologize. I appreciate that, Oscar. Yes, we can give you the advice, but ultimately it is your decision to make it happen. So, look, we can give you all the information we have, but ultimately you are the one hitting the button. So I appreciate you for jumping in and saying it is not Josh's fault, even though it is. I'm going to blame Josh.
It's absolutely my fault. It's okay.
And I did want to go back up here real quick, and I believe it was Jennifer who says sad news about Monty. Yes, and it looks like he is going to be done for the season. With it being indefinite. Let's talk about
the fuck up for Jahmyr Gibbs the rest of the season. Holy shit.
Yep. Let's talk about Monday night. We got 2 games tonight. Starting with the Underdog. Sign up with WOFF. Claim your free pick and first-time deposit bonus of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Again, that's WOFF, WOFF. Claim your free pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. 2 games tonight. Chicago at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 7, over under 43.5 on ESPN Bet. Atlanta at Vegas. The spread is Atlanta by 4, over under of 44.5 over there on ESPN Bet. Josh, 8-9 on the season so far. Pick your 2 from one from each game.
Yeah, I'll start with Chicago, Minnesota. Aaron Jones higher than 65.5 rushing yards. He's hit this number in 3 of his last 5. 3 weeks ago when he played Chicago, it ran for 106. And this was the fun stat that I pulled. So obviously we know Aaron Jones has played in the NFC North. He goes against Chicago twice a year. He has hit this number against Chicago 5 straight years. This should be a really easy number for him to hit. They seem to want to use Jones, especially late in games as well, to kind of wind down the clocks. We know how talented he is. He could break a long one. This should be a pretty easy number for him to hit.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't fumble early in the game, he should be good to go.
I'm not worried about that. And even if he does, you really want to rely on Cam Akers behind him. Let's be real.
I mean, it is what it is. Who you got in the Atlanta-Vegas game?
I'm going to take Darnell Mooney higher than 49.5 receiving yards. Big bounce back last week after 2 pretty down weeks, but he has crossed this number in 4 of his last 6. And the Raiders since week 10, and that's 4 games for them, they are allowing 182 receiving yards per game to the wide receiver position. So even if Drake London gets 100, that's 82 yards left on the table. I think Darnell Mooney should cross this pretty easily.
Ryan didn't show up today, didn't put his picks in, and it's probably a good thing. So we will skip right over that. Myself, I am taking Drake London higher than 8.5 targets. I had to change it up just a little bit. I wanted to go with the targets here because I didn't trust some of the lines that were out there, but Cousins has been bad. But London has been getting the targets over the last 4 games, 13 targets, 7 targets, 16 targets, 10 targets. If this is going to be a get-right game for Kirk Cousins, he's going to need to rely on this passing game, and I believe it's going to be London. I do like your Darnell Mooney pick, but that can be done on 2 targets or 2 catches. So give me the targets for Drake London here with the amount of volume he's getting. And I ended up taking. I didn't do anything in the Chicago one. I messed that one up, but I had to put in Sincere McCormick here for Ryan because Ryan has been so high on him. I had to go find a lot.
We all have, dude. Ryan, Joe, myself, we've all been on board the Sincere McCormick train. It's gonna suck when he's there.
So Ryan, this one is strictly for you. I went Sincere McCormick higher than 8.5 receiving yards. He got 11 last week in his only start. Ritter will need to get the ball out in a hurry. If he's not getting it to Bowers, he will be getting it to Sincere McCormick. And again, I like these lines that I can find and do within 1 play or 2 plays and be done and move on to the next one that I need to be sweating. And Sincere McCormick fits that to a T. So I do. That's where I'm going there. Get over here, Caesar. The 3rd running back in Detroit is Craig Reynolds, by the way, and Millie Mills. I hope y'all do lose, by the way, brother. I hope you do. But I don't think it's happening. Would you switch Jettas out for London? Opponent has Addison.
Man, that's a deep roster. I mean, personally, I wouldn't. I think Jefferson outscores London, but I also don't hate the variant side of things because let's say hypothetically that the team goes all Addison and then Jefferson's left in the dust and now it's just basically Addison versus Bijan. At least this way you have some level of variance, and that way if it is a full-on Addison game and they leave Jefferson in the dust, you're still covered because you've got London and Bijan. I think this is a pretty good back and forth, like playing the chess match, essentially. I mean, you have a slim lead. It's 0.3. I think you should win this pretty easily. But I think making that switch to London increases your odds that, and let's turn the tables, right? If Jefferson goes off, but Addison doesn't, you still have 2 against the 1 there, and it should very easily work for you anyway. So I think you're covering bases with that switch, but I'm going to preface this, Kev. by saying, clearly this show has highlighted my extremely bad start-sit decisions for week 15. So maybe don't listen to me and stick with Jefferson.
I will make this one point on this. Week 12, Minnesota played at Chicago. That was the week that Addison went off, and Justin Jefferson did nothing. So just throwing that out there for you. If Madison scores, there'll be riots. Millie Mills 100%. Is laughing at me for sure for saying that hopefully the Falcons lose. Hard to bench Jettis there. But yeah, all
right. So at least we're on the same lines of thinking here, Kev. Like I said, it's definitely a chess match. I think it's unfathomable that, you're considering benching Justin Jefferson, but again, when you have like strong pivots like this, right? Like Drake London is a strong pivot. Like he's a top 10 wide receiver. I think it's okay to consider that chess match.
Josh, we got about 3 minutes and you got to start your meeting. So let's get the hell out of here. First of all, I want to appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you. All the great questions, the venting, all of that is exactly what we are here for on a beautiful Monday morning. Don't forget to check out all the other shows here on Club Fantasy FFL. That is tomorrow morning. Wiretapped with Ryan and Josh. Hopefully Ryan will come back and be alive. That's tomorrow at 11. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Trade Block with Dusty, Joel, and Who, the Dynasty Trade Show. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Cleat Dreams, the weekly Women of Fantasy Football podcast with Renee and Kelly. Hopefully the ladies are feeling up to. They've been sick here the last couple of weeks, so they've been missing out, but hopefully they're back this week. 9 p.m. No pun intended, the flagship show with Joe, Josh, and Ryan. Hopefully again Ryan will be up for that one. Thursday 9 a.m. Oh Captain, My Captain, Josh and Austin will run down the DFS showdown for the Thursday night game. Thursday night, 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. rather. Sneaky Flex with Wendy and the Sneaky Girls, Rowan and Maisie, the now 10-year-olds. Spot on, hashtag nailed it. Sneaky Girls. Then Thursday night after that at 8 p.m. myself and Joel get together for Dynasty After Party. Friday morning DFS Academy with Ryan and Austin doing the DFS Cash and GPP preview. Saturday morning, what has become a phenomenal show. Start sit different day with Josh and Joe. If he decides to show up, be awesome. And then of course Monday morning right here 11 a.m. Monday's Hangxiety. It'll definitely be me and Josh. We'll see if we allow Ryan back on the show after the last couple of weeks. It's been great without him, but that's fine too. Josh, any last words, parting words for the good folks?
No, good luck to everybody on their prop bets and parlays tonight, and we'll see everybody tomorrow morning, Ryan and myself, to get you through the Week 16 waiver wire.
Yeah, don't forget tomorrow morning as well, Ryan's waiver wire comes out on clubfantasyffl.com. For Ryan, for Josh, make sure you're following the Club Fantasy and the Women of Fantasy over there on all socials. You don't have to worry about following Ryan because, well, he doesn't come out anymore. But you can follow Josh and myself over there as well. Tags are right here, just below us, right there and there. But until next week, Josh, go get your meeting done. We will see y'all later. Appreciate everybody.